If you ever have the chance to be in a delivery room, I suggest you take it. For witnessing the delivery of a baby is a unique and an awesome privilege. I myself personally have been in a delivery room 5 times to date. Of the appearance of the first, I don't remember anything, for it happened to be my birthday. The second and the third time, I was not in the delivery room with an interest of doing any sightseeing. I couldn't have cared less what the color of the walls or whether the floor had tile or carpeting, for I was focused on huffing and puffing and panting. The next time, I did have a bit of a chance to look around. There were maybe 6 or 8 individuals working intently in get-ups that made them look like they were aliens from Mars or Mercury. There were bright lights in the ceiling, monitors and tubes and gadgets galore. It looked like we were in the cockpit of an airplane. I watched in awe to see the vinyl-gloved hands of a surgeon gently lift a wisp of a human being out of its mother's belly, and then pass him off to another standing ready to receive. The total time I spent in that delivery room was probably only a matter of minutes, I think. However, those few minutes have created a lasting and a tender memory for me. The 5th visit to a delivery room lasted for many hours, even though I rushed to get to the place. When I arrived, I found not a whole lot was happening. The principals were watching television and reading magazines. After a while, I went out for dinner, and when I came back, I found I was not missing anything. Eventually, all 3 of us, mother, father, and me, simply went to sleep. I woke up from time to witness a nurse technician monitoring the baby's progress on a ticker tape kind of thing in a computer screen. Finally, about 2 a.m., a physician arrived to announce it's time to turn on the lights and to get this thing going. Delivery rooms have varied greatly over the centuries. In olden times, they were most commonly in the bedroom of a home. Admission was for women only. Physicians were called only in medical emergencies. Fathers, if they were there at all, were sitting at the kitchen table waiting to hear the cry of their child. Around the time I was born, the medical profession had taken total charge of all birthing. Expectant mothers were confined alone in a sterile space. Relatives, fathers, siblings were banned completely. The laboring women were routinely knocked out by some anesthetic drug so that the nurses and the doctors could do their thing. Mommy was only to be awakened hours later and introduced to her baby, hopefully. who was then whisked away to a clinic behind glass and only brought out to visit occasionally. Today, there are all sorts of styles of delivery room, from back-home midwifery to surgical lights and technology to maternity wards where every Tom, Dick, and Sally looks like they're welcome to join Mama and the roomin' baby, and the place looks more like a block party. Regardless of the time or place, regardless of the equipment or culture or nationality or century, the delivery of a child always involves a reawakening to the fear and the trauma and the uncertainty of the frailty of human existence on earth. And with each successful birth, an awareness of God's miracle recreating. We don't know much at all about that delivery room in Bethlehem on Christmas Eve. Many assume it to be a stable with an open-ended wooden kind of lean-to, a mini barn like is overwhelmingly displayed in home sets and this one. But we really don't know. St. Luke doesn't tell us anything. Orthodox tradition rather describes the place Jesus born as a grotto, which is a recessed hole in the floor of an inmost section of a cave. We do know Jesus was not born in anybody's bedroom or in a hospital or maternity ward or clinic or in an inn or any rented state conducive for sheltering human beings. The manger is our only clue. A feeding trough for animals. That's where the Holy Child was laid. That piece of information alone leads us to believe the delivery room was out of doors, in some sort of a semi-sheltered space where domestic animals are corralled or penned and gathered to eat. We assume the teenage mother Mary's labor pains came on fast and furiously, thus the unusual delivery room. It also appears reasonable to believe Joseph was the only other human being present at the scene. It's seriously doubtful that women would have been around an animal stall and could be recruited in to help, or that a stable boy could be sent in to find a midwife in the village. So Joseph was most likely on his own, and he had to deal with the fear and the tension and the uncertainty that occurs when that indescribable force begins to take over a woman's body. Our question: who delivered this baby? Who delivered this baby? Who, when you come to think of it, delivers any baby? The word deliver can be used in a variety of ways. Most commonly, to deliver means to transport or carry, or somehow facilitate in moving an object or a thing from somewhere to some other person or some other place. The teenager delivers the pepperoni pizza that you ordered from Snappy's on Monday. Your Christmas cards and tax returns get delivered by a person like Scott Freed. County sheriffs deliver prisoners to the courthouse for hearings. And UPS, hopefully by this time, has delivered your Christmas package. To deliver may also mean to put forth words, to make a promise or a vow, and then to make good on that profession eventually. Ever since President Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address, America has never been the same. A sermon delivered is not just about spewing words or filling up time, but it's about enabling a promise of God or one of God's ideals to blossom again in our reality. The most ancient, original use of this verb, the Latin delivere, means to set free, to emancipate, to release, to liberate. Realize how the entire Christian story, not just, but including the Christmas story, the entire Christian story is one big story of delivery. It was testified to in the book of Exodus when God delivered his chosen Israelites out of the bonds of slavery. It is sung about by the psalmists, how the Lord delivers the humble of heart from the clutches of their enemies. It is witnessed to by the prophet like Isaiah that the Holy One will deliver the people who live in darkness and the broken-hearted and those who wander away like sheep. To be delivered from evil is what Jesus told us to pray for. And it is delivery from sin and death and mourning and grief and prejudice and injustice and captivity that was won for us completely on Easter morning. To deliver is to liberate from all those things that hold somebody back, that are limiting and confining and hindering one from living life to the fullest degree. And of course, to deliver is to birth a baby. Who delivers any baby? Is it a doctor in a white coat with a mask on and gloves? Is it the midwife trained to know the rhythms and the waves of natural laboring? Is it the father who must take control in an emergency, or someone like an EMT? Often, those persons just named don't really deliver. They simply catch, receive. What about the mother? Shouldn't she get the credit? She is the one who often, not always, does the hard work of laboring and panting and pushing. Sometimes, however, even she is unaware, anesthetized, asleep. who delivered Jesus on Christmas Day. Whether you choose to give the credit to Joseph or to Mary, is it not true? In this, as in every case, it is God who delivers ultimately. It is God who forms life and nurtures life in the womb and sustains life as it gestates and is responsible for the very first breath you breathe and is gifting us with every successive heartbeat. God is the deliverer of all humankind. God alone should have the glory. Even so, Christians know the birth in Bethlehem was a very special delivery, one like none ever before it or since. One wholly and totally unique. It is the reason we and Christians around the world are assembling to celebrate today. In the birth of Jesus, God not only delivered Mary's firstborn son, he delivered you and me. With every contraction endured by the Blessed Virgin, God began delivering the world from out of the darkness of despair to the light of truth and grace. As Joseph hurried to prepare a birthing place, God was busy making heaven ready. As the shepherds came to see this thing the angels told them to see, the whole world's eyes began opening up to witnessing miracles dawning. And as the angels began to sing, our lungs started filling with the spirit of comfort and joy and peace. With the birth of Christ begins our total delivery. The promises spoken of God from of old are fulfilled. We will be carried along from sin to grace, liberated. Heaven is our destiny. Now that didn't come without pain. As with any woman in travail, God suffered too, as he watched his son die on Good Friday. But as that old saying goes, a mother soon will forget the pain. We know that God rejoices every time a new member comes into his family. I like to think that delivery room of Jesus' birth was out of doors purposefully, so that the world can know that we are never shut out. We are never excluded from enjoying the miracle of Emmanuel, God with us, God's life coming. Any place can be a delivery room, and a delivery room can include anybody. For wherever Christ enters a space such as here and now, all who come to him in faith will be delivered, redeemed, and saved. See it, share it, celebrate. Amen.